99 hustles. 99 hustles.
Welcome to the 99 Hustles podcast. I'm your host, Nick Arter.
And I'm your co-host, International Fees.
And today we're joined by another exceptional hustler. Today we're joined by Dustin Heiner. Dustin, what's going on today, man?
Hey guys, I am super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I love just talking to awesome people like yourselves, just about how to change our lives. So this is great. Thank you so much again.
No, man, Dustin, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to kind of speak with us and kind of get your story across out to the Hustle fam. So like Nick mentioned, Dustin's an inspirational entrepreneur. He's a founder and host of Master Passive Income, which is a blog and a podcast all about investing in real estate rental properties and getting people into, opening up their minds to seeing different ways to make passive income. But before we get into the specifics of Master Passive Income, Dustin, why don't you take us to the genesis of things and how you got into this entire space?
Yeah, I have always been entrepreneurial. And so in my life, growing up, I was always like, I had examples like my dad was entrepreneurial, my mom and he divorced, and my stepdad was also entrepreneurial. So I had that desire. So I always had that kind of mindset, but I've always been taught in school that you work a job and you retire when you're old. That's literally what you do. And so I was going down that path, but I've always been entrepreneurial. So I had a newspaper delivery route where basically I ride a bike and I put newspapers in my bag and I throw and bang the garage doors and stuff like that. So not so many people do that now because everything's digital, but that started that back then. Had a graphic and website design company, had a skateboard manufacturing business, pizzeria, convenience store, like just lots and lots of businesses. And I found as I was building those businesses, I also started investing in real estate. So I bought one rental property and started doing that as well and realized, oh my goodness, passive income is awesome. I bought one property, worked one time, and I didn't do any work. I have other people do the work. Don't get me wrong, the work gets done, like property managers and all that, but I don't do anything anymore. And so let me give you guys a quick story of that really got me catapulted into becoming an investor. So I've been working a regular desk job. I was doing IT work at the county government in California. And I've been working there year after year. Remember, I was taught, and like we all are, you work a career and then you retire when you're 65 years old. That's just what you're told. And so I was doing that, working, 10, 15 years, everything's going great. And my wife and I started having kids. And all the while I'm still doing hustles, like side hustles and everything. I'm buying things on, selling them on eBay, all that sort of stuff. I hustle. So in building all these businesses, my wife and I started having kids, one after another. Eventually we had our fourth kid. So the quick story is my wife had our fourth child and I'm still working that day job. And after she had the child, I took time off. It's called paternity leave, where the dad stays home with the mom, changes the diapers and, bonds with the baby and all that sort of stuff. And it's about a week long, maybe 2 weeks. And so after a week or two, I get back to work. And that week I get back, I get a call from my boss's secretary, like the top guy. And his secretary says, Dustin, would you please come to the office? Boss would like to talk to you. I said, sure. And I hung up the phone and I stopped there and I paused for a second. This is Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. This is not normal. Like what's going on? This is definitely out of not normal. This is out of left field. And so as I sit there, I started thinking back, 2 or 3 months before I went on paternity leave, there was some rumors or some rumblings going on that the county was running low on money and there might be layoffs. And I immediately shook that off because remember, this is a career. I've been working here forever and like 15 years. I had plenty of, promotions. My bosses love me, all that sort of stuff. I got great seniority. So I get up shaking that off and I walk down the hallway to my boss's office. Now, as I'm walking down this hallway, if it's a short hallway, but it feels like it's getting longer and longer every single step that I take. And on top of that, my feet feel like they're forming lead bricks around them because each step is getting harder and harder. And the world starts getting on my shoulders because as I'm walking, it's dawning on me that this potentially could be the time that I lose my job. And as I'm walking through, I turn the corner, my boss's office is closed, his door's closed, and I see a secretary. And sheepishly, she looks at me and says, Dustin, would you please have a seat? So I walk over and I have a seat, and she's smiling at me, consoling me with her eyes because she knows everything that's going on. I know nothing about what's going on. Now, as I'm sitting there in that chair, I'm starting to realize that this potentially could be the time that I lose my job and lose the ability to provide food for my family. Like, I just had my fourth child. My wife is at home nursing the baby. And I'm thinking, if I can't provide food, what does that make me as a father? Am I a failure
Mm,
as a father? Am I a
right.
failure as a husband, as a man providing for his family? Well, as I'm sitting there, like I said, the weight's on my shoulders of the entire world. My hands get all clammy, my forehead gets all sweaty. And then the door to my boss's office opens up. And out walks a coworker, a lady, and she has a piece of paper in her hands. And she's noticeably distraught, noticeably upset, but she's not necessarily crying, but her world has totally been rocked. And as she passes me, my boss says, Dustin, would you please come into my office? So I go into his office and I get laid off. And now remember, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid
I was
off.
gonna say, like,
But I
Yeah.
did. Seriously,
I was like,
right?
what?
That's
I was like,
But I
man,
did.
Nick.
And so I'm realizing if I can get laid off and fired from the government, then anybody can. And so I start walking back to my desk, and I'm realize two things, guys. Two things right there, sitting down at my desk. Even though I'm all upset, I realize two things. Number one, I need to get another job to provide for my family. Like, I need to hustle. I need
Right.
to basically get a job. And so I was really, really blessed, praise the Lord, to be able to find another job in the county in a different department. They had enough money, so they hired me on. So I was really, really blessed there. The second thing I realized was that I need to make sure I never, ever let this happen to me ever again. Never give anybody the opportunity or the ability to rip out the way for me to provide for my family. So right then
Mm,
and there, I realized my true value. So everybody listen to this. If you're ever asked the question, what do you do for a living? Now, what I would normally respond, oh, I work for the county. I do IT work for the county. Right then and there, I realized I'm never going to say that again. I'm going to say, because remember, I was doing a lot of side hustles and all that sort of stuff, and I had one rental property or two at the time. I said, now I am an investor. Whenever anybody's going to ask me, what do you do for a living? Or what do you do? My value is now in my God and my family and myself. I am presenting my value by saying I am an investor. From that point forward, I started working at this new job, which was great. I still had money coming in to provide for my family. Then I started buying property after property after property. After about 5 years, I was about 37 years old. I was able to quit my job because I had 20, 30 properties and I didn't need to work anymore. Even though I was making $75,000 a year, I realized I'm losing money here. My value is so much greater than anybody can ever pay me.
mm,
And so everybody listening to this or watching this, you got to realize that your value is so much more than anybody could ever pay you. And this is how you know this. Your boss is only paying you enough to keep you working without quitting, but not so much that takes money out of their pocket. Now I'll round out the story by sharing this. After a number of years, I was 37 years old and I had enough properties. And I said, you know what? It's time for me to quit. So I went to my new boss's office, great boss and everything. But I said, here's your layoff notice. I wasn't that I was like, I am done. Exactly. I'm done.
Step into
working.
my office if you don't mind,
Exactly. And he
sir.
said, Dustin, what are you going to be doing? And you're not going to be working. I said, I don't need to work. I have rental properties. They literally work for me. I bought up the properties one time and they make money for me. So I'll round out the story by saying, if you remember, I went to my first boss's office, the long hallway. It was short, but it felt longer and longer. It was a horrible walk. The last walk that I ever took away from my office, from my new office, it's a 1.5 mile walk to my car because I didn't want to pay for parking. I'm pretty frugal. I didn't want to pay for parking, but I've taken this walk thousands of times. This was the very last time I would ever take it. And I felt like I was walking on clouds because I looked back and said, I will never need a job. And I call it a job by J-O-B. You're living just over broke. And so as I'm walking back to my
That's a
car, I
bar.
said, I will never, ever need a job again. So you guys probably have lots of questions, but yeah, that's what got me into realizing I need to put my value on myself. I cannot let my job give me my value.
I love that. I love that story, Dustin. One my takeaway is a lot of people think like entrepreneurship and going into business for yourself is a risk, and they think that having a job is a secure thing. And what Dustin's story kind of shows is a job isn't necessarily secure either. And the fact that a job has the power to take food from your family, I mean, it's a big risk. It's a big risk. That's my main takeaway from the story.
Yeah,
No,
I
go ahead.
totally agree. I'll quickly just say you're 100% right. If I can get fired and laid off from the government, any job that you have, it's not guaranteed. You're going to get
Exactly.
it. And the saying is, and I love the saying, it's not if you get fired or laid off, it's when, because it's going to happen.
Right. Well, I think now obviously it's a little bit different in terms of the context of things, but your story, I think, illustrates what a lot of people went through uh, since COVID. You know,
Mhm.
people realize whether that was them being laid off or them having to, take less hours, or just in general, like their way of life was different, and pretty much were a lot of time for the first time, maybe we're relying on government aid to kind of, figure things out. So how quickly did a lot of people realize, what, this job that's comfortable for me only provides a certain level of comfort, right? And if you have any goals or desires that are beyond just status quo, just having a job just isn't going to cut it. You're going to have to be able to make passive income, like you mentioned. Like you got your start in the real estate, and that was your avenue to go through it. But a lot of people, like this podcast to an extent was based off that same idea. It was just like, wait a minute, like there's a whole reset going on right now.
Yeah.
And you're, you know what I mean? Like you're going to have to figure out, like, this is the one opportunity where you can stand still for a second and figure out, like, what do I want to do? Like
Correct.
that feeling you had about like your hands are getting clammy, you have that. I feel like everyone knows that feeling when, like, if they were ever getting fired from a job before, or they're about to get a bad grade somewhere, where you just like, exactly how that feels. And for a job, it's like, man, I can't ever let somebody or some entity have that much control of my life that, like, they can just decide one day, like, yeah, we can't, we can't keep you anymore.
It's
sorry to your 4 kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And like my baby was literally my fourth child was literally like 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen?
Wow.
And realizing that though, and here's a great thing. So that was a blessing. And the reason why it was a blessing, it made me move forward. It made me, well, they say necessity is the mother of invention. It was necessary for me to get another job. So I found another great job, which was great. But at the same time, it was necessary for me to never let this happen again because I want to be able to provide for my family. That catapulted me. That was the catalyst that got me into realizing that I could do it. Now, here's what's interesting. So, guys, I coach lots of people. So I quit my job investing in real estate. And I had so many friends and family members asking me, well, number one, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I just invest in real estate. The second question always comes, well, can you teach me? And so I was teaching people one-on-one, friends and family members. And I realized that takes a lot of time. So I started
Mhm.
a blog. I wrote a book. Now I have a podcast on YouTube, literally teaching this stuff. Now, what's interesting though, is I can literally teach anyone, hear this, anyone how to invest in real estate, but getting them over that hurdle to realize themselves that they can do it, that they should do it, and that they will be successful. That's all on them. I can't do any of that. I could just give them all the tools, all the directions. I could literally give them a map and say, just follow step by step. If they don't want to take it, they can't take it. So I could teach anybody. It's them getting over that hurdle, that catalyst that's going to make them. But for me, that was that catalyst. It felt horrible. It felt horrible at the time. I was like, oh my, what am I going to do? Now
Yeah.
looking back, it was one of the best things that happened to me.
Now, Dustin, another part of your aspect of your story and your ascension that we did want to cover is there was a conference that you attended also, correct? The Rich Dad, Poor Dad conference that was pretty transformative for your business. Could you talk a little bit about attending that conference and what it did for you? Or reading the book as well?
Got it. So it wasn't here. There's two different parts to it. So number one, I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is a phenomenal book. It got me shifting my thought. I'm taught in school, you go to school, you go to college, get thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, then work a job to pay off that debt. And then at 65 years old, barely have enough money to live on, which I was like, I don't want to do that. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that book helped me, catapulted me into realizing there's a different way to think. That was a start. Now, the conference that you're talking about, I went to a conference. It was basically like a seminar. Now, this seminar was a real estate investing seminar. Now, it's one of those where if you're watching TV late at night, like the midnight, and there's like an infomercial, like a real estate, hey, we're going to be in your town for, come to this 90-minute session or seminar. It's free,
Yeah.
come. And they literally they give you a big, broad overview. There's nothing of value there. But then they said, rush to the back, go spend $1,000, $2,000, and they get our 2-day seminar. Well, I did that. This was a long time ago. I rushed to the back and I bought into that seminar. I went to that 2-day seminar. it was so broadly, it was such a broad overview that I could not take anything away from it. Meaning I just saw, okay, I could wholesale, I could do rental properties, I could flip, I could do this. It's big, broad overview. But then here's the worst thing. At the very end of there was one full day and a half day, but that last half of that day is all sales to get you to spend 40, 50, $60,000 on their courses and their seminars. I was like, well, if I had 40 grand, I wouldn't give it to you. I'd rather learn my own lessons and buy my first property myself. So that was a catalyst. It was a Wretched Dad Poor Dad got me into realizing I should do something. Then I went to the conference or a little seminar thing and realized I'm going to do it myself. But I would also say, I have to say this, even though it might've been 40 grand, it might've been good information, but I didn't want to spend that at the time. Now there's so many other ways to learn, so many free things, like just my YouTube channel. Like literally, I just teach how to do this. My podcast, there's so many ways to learn how to do this. But I will also say that if you get coaching, good quality coaching, I think honestly, those guys were not scam, but like, yeah, they were trying to make money.
It was like, what do you call those? Like those, like you said, it was a late night commercial, but like, you know, those late night, like church, mega church commercials where they're like, hey, send a check in for, you know, we'll send you a prayer. Like one of those things.
It's a way for them to make money. I guarantee that. Now, what I would say though, if you get a good coach or a mentor, somebody that's done it before, that's basically what
mentors,
it is. Find somebody that's done it before. They're going to save you so much, not just money. Saving money is great. Time is another thing that we can never, ever get back. So when you spend that time, you now realize that was a lot of money. So here's the thing. If you get a mentor, get a coach, get somebody that you could trust that has done it before, they're going to help you save lots of money and save lots of time. Even though you might be, let's say you're paying them money. Let's say you take them out to lunch. Well, that money is well served. I'll give you this. Also, I would pay Warren Buffett for me to work for him, to work a regular 9-to-5 job. I would pay him money because learning from him, being around his network, just being around the business model, even listen to what kind of deals they do, I would make so much more money than he could ever pay me.
That kind of reminds me of that like running social media joke where it's like, would you rather have Jay-Z. Like, what is it, $1 million or have dinner with Jay-Z? You know what I mean? You know, but you know, obviously that's just more so of a joke. But I guess
getting taught to fish, and it's like taught to fish versus fish.
Exactly, as opposed to someone giving you a fish. Yeah, correct. You said it right, exactly that way. So with that, I mean, okay, so you came across this seminar, went to it, realized, you know, like, this probably isn't the exact way I want to do it, just because I can't afford to get this information, even if, you know, they have it there. Where did you go from there? Was it at the time where there was information online, or is this like everyone's just giving away free information?
It's way before anyone giving away free information. So I started investing in 2006. So I probably went to the seminar 2005.
Oh, so before the crash.
Wow.
Exactly. So I started buying property. So I lived in California at the time, and I realized the prices were so ridiculously high that even if I bought a house, I could not make money in passive income. Because remember, the goal is not appreciation. It's not anything like that. I'm not going to flip it. In fact, if you can watch this, you can see my kids in my background, the picture of my kids. I'm literally going to give them the education as well as give them these properties. Now, I'm also making sure they're not going to be spoiled rich kids. I literally spank them. So they're not going to be like that. But generational wealth is what I'm creating. And so with that, I am looking at, okay, now, even though I did not buy a property in California, I said, you know what? There has to be other areas in the country that I could buy these good properties. So, I'll give you the wrong way to do it. I did this the wrong way, but I will tell you the right way to do it. I literally flew out to Ohio of all states. I just picked one. I said, let me fly there. I found a property manager and a realtor because I knew I'm not going to be living there. So I needed somebody else to run it. I need somebody else to find the property. I bought one property, and after that, the property manager started working for me. And within 6 months, she was stealing from me. It was horrible. I remember, this is the wrong way to do it. Now I never fly anywhere. In fact, I have 30 plus properties now, and I've only seen one of them before I bought them, and literally just physically only seen 2 of them. All the other ones don't care to see, don't even want to go to the cities, don't even want to go to the states necessarily, unless there's a good thing in the state. But what happens is, what we do is we build the business. So remember, the wrong way was what I did. I just found a person that, you know, had a pulse and said, yeah, I'm a property manager. Hired them. They started stealing from me. Now here's the right way to do it. This is what got me and to be able to scale my business is I build the business first. Now, remember, I'm entrepreneurial. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business builder. And so as I'm looking at this real estate investing business, I'm thinking, well, how do I do this? Well, exactly. On top of the systems, the right people in place. Because if you remember, your one of your questions was this before the free information? Yes, it totally was. And so what I had to do was rely on experts on the ground that live there, that know the area. Even though I invest a lot of places and I have lots of properties all over, I'm not the expert. I don't even try to be the expert. Even though I'm coaching hundreds of students, I'm not the expert. I'm telling them we find experts. So as I was building the business, remember, I didn't have any knowledge. There was no free information. I found the experts in there. So here's what it looks like. When you build a business, actually, let me give you an example of what it looks like, then I'll tell you exactly how to do it. If you're going to start a convenience store, you know what a convenience store, sodas and candy bars and all that sort of stuff. If you're going to start one of those, you're not going to lease a location, open the doors with nothing in it and put a box of candy bars in there. No, if you do that, you're going to lose money. You'll go out of business in 2 seconds. What you're going to do is you're going to build the business. You're going to get the gondolas. Those are the shelving units that everything goes on, countertops, cold storage, fountain machines, bank accounts, cash registers, employees. You're going to build the entire business, get everything into business first before you buy any inventory. Same thing in real estate investing. What we do is we build the business. We find all the experts in the area that we need for a business. Then every piece of property we buy is a piece of inventory that we put into the business. Now, what you're going to hear a lot of other people who teach how to invest in real estate, they're going to say, okay, this is what you do. You find a property, you run the numbers, make sure you're going to make $100 a month, $50. You're just going to make a little bit of passive income. And then you find somebody to fix it up. Then you find somebody to rent out the property. Then you find a property manager, somebody to manage the property. In my opinion, that's all backwards, because what they're trying to teach you is that your property is your business. No. We have a business, and our business has inventory. That inventory is our properties that we put in the business. That's how you scale the business, by putting in systems in place and having experts on the ground running the business. Now, I could keep going, but you guys probably have lots of questions. So
real quick. Have you read The 4-Hour Workweek?
Yes, I have, but honestly, I'll be completely honest. Working 4 hours a week is for suckers. It's too much. So I don't work 30.
Oh, it's too much.
He said it's too much.
It's too much. So
that's not where I thought he was going. I thought he was going like, who could only work 4 hours? Like you're not doing anything.
No, it's way too much. So I don't work 30 minutes a day. I don't work 30 minutes a week. I only maybe work 30 minutes a month. All that is I get my property management statements. I look over everything, and then I put it aside, and I go back to play with my kids, go back to golfing, do whatever, literally
That's
whatever
incredible.
I want. And here's the reason why. I built the business and I hired the experts. Now, let me also share one thing too. Remember, like I said, 4-hour work week, that's for suckers. I don't want to work 4 hours a week. I want to work 30 minutes a month, which translate out, that's like 8 minutes a week or something like that, whatever it's going to be. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that all my expenses are covered. So if you're going to start investing, here is how you make sure you're buying the right inventory that's going to be making you money. Like if you're not going to buy a candy bar for $1 each candy bar and sell them for 75 cents, because you're lose 25 cents every single candy bar you sell. You go out of business. It's not making money. What we do is we make sure we buy the property. And remember, this is generational wealth. I'm holding on to these properties. My rents that I bought, or the properties I bought in 2006, the rents have doubled since I bought them back then. And I paid off mortgages. I'm just making money hand over fist. And so this is what we do. We account for every single expense before we buy the property. We look for property management fees, our mortgages, our taxes, our insurance, our vacancy. Like if it's going to be vacant, we got to account for that little expense. Repairs, capital expenses, bid expenses. We calculate all those up. This is the reason why I love real estate. I'm not that smart. In fact, probably all your listeners are much smarter than me. It's just easy. It's just addition, subtraction, and a little bit of multiplication. Let me explain how this works. All you do is you add up all your expenses. Figure all your expenses. I just explained them out to you. Add them all up. That's your total expenses. Let's say they're $1,000. $1,000 with your mortgage and everything. $1,000 total expenses and paying for your property manager, somebody running your business. Then your property manager, your expert on the ground, tells you you could rent that property for $1,250. Well, $1,250 minus $1,000, that's $250 a month in passive income. Now, we don't buy a property unless it makes us a minimum of $250 a month. Let me share this, how you can now scale it. Once you build the business, find the right properties, the right inventory, you scale the business. Remember, we already have people working for us. They are the ones doing all the work. But this is how we scale it to where we can quit our job. So one property making you $250 a month, that's $3,000 a year without working. That's passive income. Now, if you buy 10 properties, that is $2,500 a month. That's $30,000 a year. If you buy 20 properties, that is $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year without doing a thing. You just keep scaling it. Eventually, you have six figures, seven figures. This is how the wealthy keep their money.
But now, Dustin, though, I do want to ask you this though. Is there any type of, like, what is the risk with, say someone's listening and they think they need to scale very aggressively? Could that potentially be like a house of cards that could fall on to an entrepreneur if they think that they need more and more and more? Is there any risk to that also?
I love that question, Nicholas. So you're 100% right to think that way. Now, if you look back or think back to 2006, 2007, 2008, when the crash happened. So I bought all my properties all through that time. And then after that, but the reason why I did not go bankruptcy, I literally kept making money. The great thing about the way I invest in real estate for passive income is whether the market goes up, the market goes down, or the market goes sideways, I still make money because the minimum is $250 a month in passive income. Remember, rents go up. And on top of that, the people that crashed, that had bankruptcies in 2008, that would tell you, I lost everything. It's because they were investing for appreciation. They were either wanting to flip the property or they were hoping that, okay, I'm losing money in passive income, but I'm going to sell it for here. We don't do that. And so all those properties that I bought in 2006, I made money every single month. And now here's the question you might ask, you might not ask, but people think, and I get this question a lot. Okay, Dustin, in 2007, 2008, people are losing their jobs. It won't rents go down? I'm like, well, think about it here. Number one, everybody needs a place to live, right? Yes, everybody needs a place to live. They're going to find another job. They're going to make less money, but they need a place to live. But here's the thing. What happened in 2008 when the crash happened? Foreclosure. No, they can't own homes. Where are they going to live? They're going to rent. The pool of renters increases dramatically. The amount of rentals stay the same. In fact, I buy more, just a little bit more because I could keep. Anyways, rents go up when there's a problem like this. So all this is pointing to, if you want to scale, get back to your question, is could we scale too fast? Yes, you definitely can. You need to be wise. But the reason why we do it this way is even as we scale, we account for all of our expenses. And if we get a new loan, we make sure we're making a minimum of $250. That's passive income that can help offset. That's also on top of paying for the loan. Now, get this, guys, you'll appreciate this. So I don't pay my taxes on any of my properties. I don't pay my property manager. I don't pay my mortgage. I don't pay my insurance. I don't pay any of that stuff. My tenants pay for every bit of that. Now, it so happens the money comes through me and I pay it back out, but I'm not getting a job to pay for my property manager. I'm not getting a job to pay for my mortgage. It just comes through me. But then on top of that, remember that difference? I'm making a minimum of $250 a month. That's the minimum. I have some properties making me $1,000 a month because rents go up over time.
No taxes in 30 minutes of work a month. That is like we call that lifestyle design on the show, is when people build their business right around just to create that perfect lifestyle. And Dustin, it sounds like you're truly living it. There's one question that we typically ask our real estate guests, because these are hot issues and questions we get from listeners about real estate, and that's just about these two new emerging trends. Mobile home investing as well as Airbnb investing. It's kind of like a two-part question. So we just wanted to pick your brain just to kind of get your thoughts on both of those, or any other new trends that you see in the industry or sector.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll quickly get rid of the mobile home investing. So mobile home itself is a depreciating asset in value. You buy it for, let's say, $50,000. 5 years from now, it'll be $40,000, and it just goes down in value. You buy a house. That's literally it's fixed and attached to the ground. It's an improvement on the land. Value goes up. So a mobile home in itself, it's a tin can that literally loses money. So over time, it's not going to be worth anything. Now, if you own the mobile home land and you're actually leasing the land, totally different story. That's cash cow. Definitely do that. So go that route. Don't buy mobile homes themselves, buy the land and have the mobile homes sit on top of there. So let me get to the Airbnb. I love Airbnb. In fact, what I do is I look at, okay, how do I guess, diversify in a sense in real estate? Well, I personally suggest, and this is what I do for myself and my students, I say, I put 80% of all my portfolio of properties into long-term. I love long-term rentals, year, 2-year leases, because that's just steady income. That's clockwork. It comes in, I can make sure I pay for my family. But at the same time, Airbnbs are great. You make more money because you're renting them out per day as opposed to per month or per year. Just like hotels, they make a lot more money because they rent it out per day, which is great. But I put 20%, or I suggest 20% of your portfolio in Airbnb, because let's say, for God forbid, another thing happens where the entire economy closes down, they can't travel, then how are you going to make money? You're not. You're going to have to quickly convert it over to a long term to try to get somebody in there. So that's what I do. 80% long term, because I still need to feed my family, but I still also want to make a lot of money in the short term rental properties, because you make more money. So I put 20% in there.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I'll say for the first part of your answer, it's so interesting. We always ask that question to the real estate folks, because like we get people who are into real estate and swear by real estate. They typically we found they don't like mobile home investing, and then the mobile home investor guys we talk to, they say real estate is the worst. So it's always interesting to hear the insight on that topic.
Well, let me also share with you how I make money if I buy a rental property. And when you buy a mobile home, you don't make it this way. When I buy one rental property, I make money in 6 different ways. Now, the first way, passive income. We've already talked about that. That's fantastic. Passive income's like, I love it. It's amazing. Next one would be equity capture. So I capture equity when I buy a property, because I'm an investor. I don't pay market value. I'll keep putting in loads and loads of offers. Let's say they're asking $150,000, and that's the market value. It's worth $150,000. I'm going to put an offer for $120,000, or maybe even lower to work my way up. But I'm going to try to buy it for like $125 and make sure the passive income still works, and capture $25,000 in equity. That's another way I make money. Now, mobile home investors definitely want to do that, because, well, they can do that, but the one they can't do is forced appreciation or market appreciation. So market appreciation over time, it goes up. We know that. Last year in Phoenix alone, 20% in 1 year, which is crazy to me. It's stupid, but it just there's also forced appreciation. Forced appreciation, you fix it up, you make it look better, painting and all that sort of stuff, then you make the value go up. Now, another one is depreciation in taxes, not depreciating value of the house. In fact, it just keeps going up. Taxes. If you listening do not have a piece of property that you can depreciate in your taxes, you're paying too much money in taxes. I love depreciation. It's absolutely amazing. In fact, Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad calls it a phantom expense. It's not an expense, but the IRS lets you take off so much money in your taxes with depreciation.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Can you explain what depreciating your assets is for those who might not be familiar? Like, what is it?
Got it. Now, the broad overview, and there's much more nuances in this, but I'll give you a big broad overview. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000. Well, you can depreciate that, which means over time, over the amount of 27 and a half years, the value of the $100,000 that you bought it for, you can deduct that portion of it from your total income. Let's say you make a lot of money. Let's say you make $100,000. Well, if it's $100,000 that you make or you have a value on that home, you deduct that over 27.5 years. Let's just round numbers. You make $100,000. Well, one property, let's say it's going to allow you to deduct, let's say $8,000. Well, instead of looking in the IRS $100,000, it looks like you made $92,000. So it makes your taxable value go down. That's big, broad overview. I know accountants are probably, that's probably not the right way to think. It just helps you. And again, remember, I'm not that smart. Everybody listening is probably smarter than me. That's why I hire experts. I hire accountants. I hire lawyers. I'm like, I'll just make money. I'll pay you to do it. I don't want to do that stuff.
There's a 50 Cent quote. I didn't go to Harvard, but the people that work for me do.
Amen. Absolutely. I'll quickly say the last way I love this last way I make money is basically it's called mortgage buy down. Mortgage buy down is fantastic. Remember, I don't pay my taxes, insurance, mortgage, principal, interest, all that sort of stuff. My tenants do. So if I buy a house, now here's a quick way to buy a house. If you want to invest in your area, I would suggest using an FHA loan, Federal Housing Administration loan. You pay 3.5% down, which is terrific. Let's say you buy a duplex. You can live in one or one unit and then rent out the second unit. But let's say, just round numbers. I know you might be thinking, oh, it's kind of hard to buy it for this, but let's just talk about it. You buy a house for $100,000 and it's worth $100,000. You put an offer, you get it locked down for $100,000. You put 3.5% down. It's a duplex. That's only $3,500. A lot of people can work and scrimp and save and hustle to get $3,500. Then you still owe $96,500. But you live in one and you have somebody else rent out the second one. More than likely, that second unit is going to make enough money in rent to cover that mortgage. Then your tenant is literally paying all the principal and interest, that $96,500, and the interest to buy that house because they're paying down that for you. Because remember, we account for all those expenses. So those are the 6 ways that we make money.
That is game. That's free game right there, guys. This FHA loan, like it's fees. I feel like you and I are going to be like real estate, like gurus.
I know. Based off the information,
and there's a consistent theme that we hear that in these stories, man, and it's truly inspiring and incredible to hear.
No, for sure, and you kind of touched on it a little bit in terms of, you know, the FHA, how much you actually need. Because one question we typically ask is for someone that's, you know, signs up, wants to be a student of yours, what's like the cost of entry you generally, you know, tell your students, like, hey, this is the kind of money you're going to need if you want to get into this?
I love that question. And it's a wise question because the two questions that people who want to work with me and to want to invest, they have two thoughts. Number one, how do I find good deals? Number two, how do I pay for those? Obviously, easy. We get that. But obviously, I teach them how to build the business first, because then we do that, we get all those other things ironed out. So for me, I do one-on-one coaching. I also have group coaching. I have courses, membership, all that sort of stuff to help people out. But for one-on-one coaching, I don't take on any student has less than $10,000. The reason why, I mean, there are ways to invest in real estate with low and no money down, like no money, but it's really, really hard. In fact, my students who buy property after property, eventually they're successful and they're buying properties with no money down because they've already got the experience and success. But if you start out with less than $10,000, it's just really, really hard. If you have $10,000 and above, we can use that money very, very well. In fact, I have plenty of students that I help. They literally have $10,000 to invest. That's literally all they have. We get them properties and then they save that money. They save their income, you know, for more investing, but every bit of money, that $250 a month from that property that they just bought, saving that too, to then buy the next property. It's a snowball. We just keep making that snowball bigger and bigger. As it rolls down the hill, it gets faster and faster. In fact, what's so great, after 30 plus properties, I have so much money coming in now that I obviously there's blessed to not work. I work 30 minutes a month, like I said. But any rehab, any fixing, any property that needs work, I never write a check anymore. All the money that comes in from the other properties help pay for those. And I literally just get cash flow coming in. So all that to say, $10,000 is the minimum, but you can do it for $5,000, for even $3,000. You can. It's just a lot more work, but we can definitely get you over that hurdle.
Dustin, I like that a lot because it's a very, very realistic approach and realistic answer that he just gave. You know, like so many people, I mean, in all types of different niches, and real estate is like, you know, that's the appeal of wholesaling real estate, is that, you know, gurus say, hey, no money, get signed up and become rich. You know, so I really respect the fact of filtering through applicants and making sure that they have the bankroll needed. And you're telling people the realities of this industry. It's very, very, very respectable. Go ahead,
yeah. Plus,
Thank you.
It goes back to the fact that you said, you know, like there's enough out there for everybody, right? So for certain people, like in your case, you're a mentor to a lot of people. So it's just as important for you to make sure you found the right mentee to make this work, as opposed to just accepting anybody with any kind of qualifications, because you'll spread yourself too thin.
Correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I only have a certain amount of time that I can give. In fact, my wife is like, well, if you're going to be doing this, like you need to obviously be helping people. You need to make money too, because if you're just going to give away your time, spend it with the family, like be here with us. We homeschool. Actually, I take that back. My wife homeschools the kids. I have the easy job of making money. She's got the hard job of homeschooling our four kids. But that's the thing, is I only have so much time to give to all my students. And so I make sure, and I've literally turned away lots and lots of students, but I also don't just turn them away. I said, here's a game plan for you. As I'm, talking to them, getting them and letting them down that they're not, I can't bring them on, which I have done many times. Like, save money for investing, cut your expenses, side hustle, like get hustles and start making more money to invest. Work your way to $10,000, save the $10,000 all the time. Start learning, listen to my podcast, watch my YouTube, like be learning at the same time. Once you have that saved up, you'll have a lot more information, a lot more knowledge. You're also gonna be looking at areas and maybe find an area to invest. All that stuff already done. By the time you have the money, then we can jump into it.
Gotcha. Makes all the sense in the world, man. It's like I said, I can't stress enough how realistic and grounded that approach is, as opposed to like just get rich quick and with
the glitz and glamour.
Yeah, the glitz and glamour. It's just, this is what it is. This is how you get to it.
I appreciate you saying. I'll quickly say that it took me about 9 years to eventually quit my job, and I was able to quit. Now, people might say, "Well, it takes a long time." I'm like, do you want to wait until you're 65, work 40 years, and then retire on 40% of your income? It's just not going to work. And so what the great thing is, it's not a get rich scheme at all. It's a get wealthy plan. All of my properties are literally double in value since I bought them. The rents are doubled, but I literally will give these to my kids, and they'll have those as in. Now, again, like I said, they're not going to be jerks, like, trust fund babies or anything like that. They definitely know the value of dollar. They work hard, but I'm teaching them and I'm giving these to them. So yes, it's a get wealthy plan.
That makes sense, because like you said before, time is like the one thing you can't get back, right? So all the time that you invested into these assets and properties, that's something that you can pass down. People that work 9 to 5, you can't pass down those 30 years working at the same plant.
And there's nothing to pass down that job. Yeah, you can't give your kid your job. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's true.
Don't worry about it, boss. I'm retiring, but my kid down here, he's
yeah. Now, Dustin, one question we always ask our guests on the podcast is, what is your hustler mantra? Now, your hustler mantra is like a quote or a phrase or something that you base your life on, or running your business upon. So, if you had to give a hustler mantra, what would that be?
I love the idea of having a mantra. I'm going to not going to say shift it, but I'm going to say this is what I always like to think. So I think, and this is what I taught myself way back when 2006, when I first started investing. The question is, when is the best time to plant a tree? Well, it was 20 years ago. The next best time is literally today. The second best time is today. So get started today, no matter what it is. If it's investing, if it's starting that side hustle, if it's listing that thing on eBay to sell, whatever it might be, don't wait. Don't put it off, because you're going to look back and say, oh man, 20 years of my life is gone. I wish I would have done it now or then. Literally do it today.
No, that's amazing. And it is. Because as soon as he started saying it, I was like, oh, here it comes. I can see it in his face.
That's my hustle mantra. That's my hustle mantra too.
No, and it's so relatable, because everyone can point to something that they started doing 4 or 5 years ago and just stopped because they're like, I'll do it tomorrow, and forgot about it. And then they look back and they're like, I should have never sold my Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was just about to say, the best time to buy Bitcoin was 2013. The second best time is right now.
Right now.
There you go.
I know.
I love it.
I know. Man, Dustin, man, you're incredible, man. Your story, it resonates so much. I know a lot of people know that feeling of just, pretty much having your fate in another company or another person's hand in terms of being able to provide for your family or for yourself. So I really appreciate you being open enough to kind of share that story. Real quick, where can people find you if they wanted to see if they maybe are a fit for your course, or just they want to learn more information, whether that's through social media or your website, where can they find you?
Yeah, thanks, Fees. So actually, I have a free course. I just love, because I want people to learn, see if this works out for them. Do you mind if I share that with them?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Awesome. So if you go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course, it's all one word, /free course. I will literally give you my real estate investing course. And you can even text the word rental, because you're probably listening on the podcast. Text the word rental to 33777, RENTAL to 33777. I'll send you this course, and it's literally going to walk you through, beginning to end, how to find an area of the country to invest, how to build the business, how to make sure you're buying the right properties, how to run the numbers to make sure that you're accounting for everything, how to scale the business, how to make sure it's automatic so you're not doing anything. So get that. But you also get me on my YouTube channel, Master Passive Income. I literally just talk about real estate. That's all I do. It's literally just talk about real estate. Just give it away for free. My podcast as well, Master Passive Income as well. Just look for me there. And so I just love helping as many people. And here's the great thing, you guys. As you build your life up to get out of working for somebody else, you start realizing you have more time, you have more ability. But here's the 4 legacies that we as people try to leave. And so the first one would be making money. So we have enough money. We want to have a legacy of money. So we have enough money to do whatever we want. The second legacy that comes after that is time. We want to have more time to be able to spend with our families, do whatever we want. So money first, then legacy. Then after that is relationships. So that time allows you to have more relationships. Money lets you have more time. Time lets you have better relationships, friends, family, church, all that sort of stuff. The last one, and I'm blessed, very, very blessed, because I worked my tail off to get here, but I'm blessed to be at this point. It's service, a service legacy. Because now I have all my relationships. I'm blessed to have great relationships with my wife, my kids. I love being home with them. I love serving at my church. I love serving community. Now I can serve. And that's why I literally just give all this away for free, because I want so many people to learn. Now, if you want me to coach you, that's when my wife says, hey, you're giving away your time one-on-one. You better charge.
Yeah, right. Because, your time isn't free. Like your wife said, if it's free, then spend it at home with us. So that, listen, everybody got to feed the kids. You got 4 of them, and you're 1 away from a starting 5.
My wife, she would want a football team by now. If I didn't stop, we'd have 11.
Hey, Brian, when we get you back for the recap episode next year, sometime we'll hopefully we'll have another kid for you to tell us all about, and another. Absolutely. But again, Dustin, you've been incredible. Really appreciate you taking the time to share your story. And we'll be sure to link out your course and all your information on the blog. So Hustle Fam, don't worry. We'll link all that information out for you to check Brian out and just stay up to date with what he's got going on. I'm sorry, Dustin. I'm calling you Brian. Okay. Because
that's okay.
I don't know why.
No, don't worry. I'm totally forgettable. So don't worry about it.
Not at all. But it's just another Tuesday. Shout out to Xfinity Internet. But with that, that's a wrap for this week's episode. Thanks for listening to the 99 Hustle podcast. Be sure to visit 99hustles.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our amazing bonus content. Please rate, review, and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. Always remember, there are 99 hustles. All you got to do is choose one.
99 hustles.